Welcome to this explainer. Okay, I want you to picture this. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning, grabbing your phone, and realizing that every smart device around you has suddenly become, well, not so smart. It feels like you've literally time traveled backwards. You try to unlock your phone using your face, right? But it completely fails to recognize you. You open up YouTube expecting to chill with videos you actually like, but instead it just starts throwing totally random, bizarre content at you. Then you ask your voice assistant about the weather and you get absolute silence or just total confusion, which, let's be real, is kind of worse than having no internet at all. Even Google's search suddenly crawls to a halt, and your favorite music app completely forgets what kind of songs you vibe with. At first, you'd probably just be super frustrated. But after a few minutes of this absolute nightmare scenario, a massive realization would hit you. What is the invisible engine actually powering all of these everyday conveniences? Well, the answer is artificial intelligence, or AI. See, today, AI is quietly working behind the scenes in literally thousands of different ways. It's helping doctors detect diseases, it's guiding drivers through crazy traffic, and it's helping businesses answer your questions instantly. We hear the term AI constantly, don't we? But separating the actual real-world utility from all that sci-fi myth, yeah, it's a lot harder than it looks. So, in this explainer, we are going to strip away the mystery entirely. Section 1. Defining artificial intelligence. Okay, let's dive right into this by breaking down exactly what these words actually mean, moving way past all that Hollywood hype. Let's just look at the words themselves for a second. Artificial simply means it's made by humans, just like artificial leather or artificial flavor. Intelligence refers to the ability to learn things, recognize patterns, and make decisions. So put them together and you get a human-made machine that can perform tasks normally requiring human intelligence. Now, notice what is missing from that definition. There is absolutely nothing in there about the machine becoming human, having feelings, or suddenly developing a conscience. No way. It simply means the machine can perform certain intelligent tasks. So why are we all so confused about this? Honestly, it's the movies. We've been trained for decades by science fiction to picture AI as these giant robots with glowing red eyes, capable of feeling deep human emotions or, actively trying to take over the world. But the AI you use every single day, it doesn't have a metal body. It exists as invisible software, just running quietly inside your phone or your laptop. When Netflix magically recommends the perfect movie, or when your email app filters out all that annoying spam, that is real AI in action. Moving into Section 2, learning through patterns. To really understand how this invisible software gets so smart, we actually need to take a step back and look at how we humans learn. Imagine a little toddler, let's call her Sarah, hanging out at the park. A fluffy animal runs past, her mom points and says, "Hey, that's a dog." A bit later, a totally different, much bigger dog walks by. Mom says, "Also a dog." Over the next few months, Sarah sees hundreds of different dogs. Slowly, without ever reading a formal rulebook, her brain just naturally notices the patterns. Show her a brand new dog she's never seen before, and she instantly knows what it is. Why? Because she learned through examples. And you know what? Artificial intelligence learns in a surprisingly similar way. But instead of looking at the world through eyes like Sarah does, AI looks at data. Vast, massive mountains of information. It might study thousands, millions, or literally billions of examples. And by analyzing all of this data, it begins to recognize repeating patterns. It's those exact patterns that help it make predictions and decisions. This whole idea of learning from patterns, that is the absolute beating heart of how modern AI works. But we absolutely have to make a crucial distinction right here. Think about teaching a child what an apple is by showing them big apples, green apples, shiny apples. The child learns the concept, sure. AI does this too, but it doesn't actually see the world the way you and I do. It doesn't admire the rich, vibrant red color of that apple. It can't smell it. It definitely can't taste how sweet it is. It only analyzes the visual information and hunts for mathematical patterns. So while it is an absolute master at finding patterns, it does not actually experience the world. This brings us to Section 3, how ChatGPT actually works. Let's see how this pattern matching concept builds into something we've all heard of and probably played around with. I think some people secretly believe there's a tiny person sitting inside the computer typing out answers, or that ChatGPT is actively Googling the live internet every time you hit enter. Well, actually, scratch that. Neither of those is true. To really get it, think about reading a classic storybook. If someone says once upon a, your brain immediately predicts the word time, right? If I say twinkle, twinkle, little, you instantly know the next word is star. Your human brain naturally makes these predictions just because it has seen these exact patterns so many times before. ChatGPT is essentially playing this exact same predictive word game, just on an incredibly massive scale. When you ask it a question, it predicts the most likely next word to create a useful response, one single word at a time. It doesn't flip through some digital encyclopedia on its head, and it doesn't remember exact sentences from its training data. It relies entirely on those mathematical language patterns we talked about to generate a brand new, custom answer just for you. But all this pattern-based prediction leads us to a really big question. If this thing is so smart, why does it sometimes confidently make things up? Well, have you ever answered a trivia question just a little too quickly? Like, if someone asked you the capital of Australia, you might confidently shout out, Sydney. It sounds right, it follows a logical pattern in your head, but it's Canberra. If AI is trained on incomplete or confusing data, it will confidently predict an answer that sounds absolutely brilliant, but is entirely wrong. We have to remember, it's a super smart assistant, not some infallible genius. Which leads nicely into Section 4, AI is a super tool. Understanding that AI is an assistant brings us straight to the biggest fear out there. Is this thing going to replace us? Let's take a quick look at history to kind of reset our perspective here. Think about the humble calculator for a second. Before the 1970s, people solved massive, long calculations entirely by hand. So when pocket calculators arrived, people literally panicked. Would students stop learning math? Would accountants completely lose their jobs? But what actually happened? Calculators didn't replace mathematicians. They became essential tools that helped people work way faster, tackle more complex tasks, and make way fewer mistakes. AI is the exact same kind of shift. It's going to change how we work, absolutely, but it doesn't replace the worker. Now, what's really interesting about this is the true boundary between humans and machines. AI can process data blazingly fast. It can generate words and analyze huge amounts of information faster than we ever could in a lifetime. But imagine your best friend is really sad. You sit beside them, you listen, and you know exactly when to just stay quiet. AI cannot experience that. Sure, it can generate some comforting words, but it doesn't actually feel empathy. It doesn't celebrate birthdays, it doesn't build deep relationships, and it has never, ever looked at a beautiful sunset and felt awe. We humans create meaning. AI just processes data. So instead of a replacement, I want you to think of AI as a super toolbox. You wouldn't build a treehouse with your bare hands if you had a toolbox full of power drills and hammers right there, right? The tools don't build the treehouse by themselves, you do. Today, doctors are actively using AI to detect diseases earlier than ever. Farmers are using it to monitor their crop health. Teachers are using it to draft amazing learning materials, and programmers use it to double-check their code. The absolutely crucial point here is this. In every single one of these examples, a human is still making the final important decisions. AI is just helping them do their jobs better. At the end of the day, artificial intelligence is not some magical brain or a living creature. It is simply a powerful system created by us, learning from patterns to perform really useful tasks. And the more you understand how it actually works under the hood, the less mysterious and fearful it becomes. The people who are going to shape the future aren't just the engineers building this tech. They're everyday people like you and me who take the time to understand it and use it wisely. So stay curious, keep asking those big questions, and think about this as we wrap up this explainer. Now that you know AI is really just a giant mirror reflecting our own human data back at us, what kind of patterns are you going to help it learn next?